Of my brother was spilled on the street. He was the rose that grew out of the concrete, the same ground where his body lay, like rose petals on a stony grave. Why do we fear each other? From the lies of yesterday, I'll never know. But look at all these roses with petals on the ground. They call this one Mike Brown. I'm asking you to look at all these roses with petals on the ground. They call this one Trayvon Martin. I'm asking you to look at all these roses with petals on the ground. They call this one Tyshawn Lee. I'm asking you to look at all these roses with petals on the ground. It's far too many for me. Tears of my mother were spilled at his grave. She knows the cost the whole world could not repay. And when she should have felt our sympathy, all we told her is that her baby was guilty. And do we even have compassion? Do we even wanna see? I'll never know. But look at all these roses with petals on the ground. They call this one Freddie Gray. I'm asking you to look at all these roses with petals on the ground. They call this one Eric Gardner. I'm asking you to look at all these roses with petals on the ground. They call this one Sandra Bland. I'm asking you to look at all these roses with petals on the ground. Every woman, every man. Sometimes I wonder if you were more than a number. Would we ever see how beautiful and special and precious you were? Somebody told me that if only you would better decide, you would still be alive. But I'm asking you to look at all these roses with petals on the ground, like the ones from Sandy Hook. I'm asking you to look at all these roses with the petals on the ground, 'cause they will change the story in our history books. So while we can, let's look at all these roses. Look at all these roses. Look at all these roses with petals on the ground. I'm asking you to look at all these roses. Look at all these roses. Look at all these roses with petals on the ground. I'm asking you to look at all these roses. Look at all these roses. Look at all these roses with petals on the ground.
Yes.
Look at all these roses with petals on the ground. The blood of my brother was spilled on the street. He was the rose that grew out of the concrete. Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring. Bring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let us march on till victory. Let us march on till victory. Let us march on till victory is won.
Hey everyone. Hey everyone. I'm so glad that you are getting a chance to spend some time with me today. I'm thankful for all the things that we are going to get a chance to do today. We're going to talk through some things. I know for a lot of you, today has been an eventful day, but I didn't want to just move on to the topics in which I had planned on talking about, but without, recognizing that today there's this situation that we were all witness to with George Floyd, and didn't want to. I definitely wanted to acknowledge it because it has been some hard things, man. It's been a hard year last year, and for many of the people that I know, it's just been hard. Period. When it comes to watching, particularly black men dying by the hands of the police. So I want to acknowledge that today. There's a lot of reasons that why I feel a certain way. Of course, I would be remiss in not saying something about our ancestors who came through Middle Passage, many of them committing suicide, choosing to die than to live as slaves. There's an amazing space for me to think about that. And so when I think about particularly young black men, but black women as well, who have died at the hands of the police, I wanted to that song, it's called Rose Petals, by a group called Common Hymnal, and I would suggest it's a great song. It's called Rose Petals, but because I'm from San Francisco, Bayview, Hunters Point, I know there's a lot of things that have happened directly here. I believe the mayor, Mayor Breed, has spoken about her family member dying at the hands of police. One of the ones that are most famous, at least in San Francisco, is a gentleman by the name of Matthew Johnson. who was shot in 1966, shot at the hands of the police on Navy Road. And that wasn't, it was not that, it was kind of interesting because there's a lot of things that wind up happening. The National Guard was brought out. There were riots in the streets, particularly coming down 3rd Street. But I can't mention Matthew Johnson without mentioning Mario Woods. He was shot and killed on 3rd and Fitzgerald. That was a problematic. Man, it just was painful. And for those who remember it, it is painful to see a brother being shot down by police. So there's, of course, names like Eric Gardner and Philando Castile, of course, Breonna Taylor, and George Floyd are the names that come to mind. So with that being said, I just wanted to acknowledge that today. So we also wanted to continue on today with generational stuff. I wanted to start off with this and kind of bear with me now. I'm not no singer, but I'm going to sing it because I think for a lot of us who have had problems with the way Black church has been or has handled it, I want to tell you, we wouldn't be where we are without the Black church. And I'm thankful. And some of you are like, where are we? Well, we're much further than we would have been if we did not have it. We would have been a lot worse. But there's a song that I remember singing growing up, and I remember watching my mother, do like this when she was singing it. And when I think about generational issues and generational stuff, I think about this song, and it was, I am on the battlefield. I am on the battlefield for my Lord. I am on the battlefield for my Lord. And I promised him that I would serve him till I die. I am on the battlefield for my Lord. And for some reason, I think about that in different places. I think about that when it comes to us intersecting culture and intersecting the world and within our communities. But I also feel that song around issues when it comes to me emotionally and spiritually, the things that happen. Battlefields aren't just places in other countries or places that are actually fields, if you will. But sometimes the battlefield has been the battlefield of my mind. I realize that more than anything, as we wrestle with some of these things, we are not wrestling against flesh and blood, but of powers and principalities, things that are attacking us. And I want to say it is to throw you off your call and your purpose, why God has called you, why you keep desiring the things of God, but then it's a distraction and it's a deterrent. But I know that God wants to restore, and he wants to be in the middle of it all and begin to bring you back to why you are here, your purpose, if you will. So I don't want you, the reason why I'm talking about this particular subject is because I don't want you to get comfortable with the trauma. And I think that's what happens. And I might digress. It's not just being comfortable with the trauma, but you might become comfortable with the results of the trauma. What I mean by that is you're this person now because of the trauma that happened to you, and now you get comfortable with who that person is now. Like, you don't take no mess because when I grew up, people did this, and now my reaction is this. I want to say there's something so much better in you that God is trying to work in you and through you. But until you let go and allow God to even peel back some of the things that are that are there, that you might even say to yourself, "Wow, I didn't even recognize that. I didn't even notice that. I didn't recognize that I'm walking around much more angry, or when someone does something, I respond in this way. I actually have a reaction to it. We call that sometimes triggers. I didn't realize these have been my triggers. Well, what makes your finger be on the gun in the first place? Why is that a trigger that you just blast off? And we got to begin to start looking at what created it. What I think is the problem that sometimes we all have, and I know it's been me, is that going back to what created it sometimes is a difficult thing. Sometimes it's uncomfortable dealing not only with the trauma, but dealing with the effects of that trauma. And then what's interesting is that each generation has their trauma, and then it adds on to the other traumas. We need to get to a space where we're willing to deal with the things that are in our lives. Come on now. We got to be willing to step into some of these things that have traumatized us, broke us. We need to begin to start telling the truth and say, this is what happened. These are the things I missed out. I felt abandoned. I didn't feel right. It's something challenged me and broke me, and I felt unloved, or I didn't feel like people were really there for me. I felt shame and I felt guilt, or all those things. And if we continue to operate in those modes, it will drive us to the wrong things. It'll often drive us to the wrong results that we really want. I realize that more than anything that the culture we live in today promotes some stuff, and it promotes some of this individual stuff. That's why we can't get to the stuff that is a collective, that even our collective trauma. And so I want us to begin to start leaning and looking into different ways of handling that. So what are you looking at today? What are the things that you are calling for? What do you want out of this? Last week, we got a chance to pray. Our last particular part was a prayer, and we prayed about forgiveness. And I realized that forgiveness is a hard space. And sometimes when we feel like that space of the space of forgiving is not easy, it's easy just to hold on to what has hurt us. So I want you to try this today. I know there's strongholds. I know there's patterns that have been in your life, and most of the time we call them generational patterns or generational strongholds. But there's a way that we could combat it, come against it, walk through it. And I'm going to say we could walk through it with the eyes of Christ. And we could begin to start saying, hey, this is the way I want to choose to be. This is the way I want to choose to lean into these moments with myself and with others. I know there's a lot of angst around this, and I put it this way. When I was reading this scripture, and it talks about a stronghold, and it's example. David said, the Lord is my rock and my fortress and my deliverer. My God is my rock, in whom I take refuge, my shield, and the horn of my salvation. We take the strongholds that have been our and allow God to be the rock in our lives. And yes, there has to be some reality checks. And I think some of us are afraid of dealing with the realities because I think, especially through therapy and other things like that, sometimes I think all that gets focused on is the issue of how you got there, but not the actual time it takes to get delivered, to walk through the messiness, to get to the other side. I realize that some of these things have shaped us and made us who we are, but is that your best self? Is that the best you? Some of it is around fear. Come on now. Some of it is around fear. Some of it is around anger. And I want you today to begin to start thinking about, how do I deal with my fear? And how do I deal with my anger? I said that fear is false evidence appearing real. Or like we used to say in the streets, man, you said, forget everything and run. Because fear does that. If you see a bear, it's healthy to have fear, but it's a problem when fear shows up every day because it produces something in you, and adrenaline and all these other things that your body is not supposed to have in you all the time. And if fear is doing that in your life all the time, it becomes unhealthy to your body, and your body takes on all these chemicals that aren't supposed to be in it. Anger, your body is not supposed to have all these chemicals running through it. Yes, when you're fearful or when you're angry, your body is supposed to produce certain chemicals, and it excretes certain things out of both your kidneys, your adrenal glands, it comes from all kinds, your pituitary gland. It excretes something so your body can move or react or run or fight. But it is not supposed to be there every day. Come on now. It's not supposed to be there all the time. And so I want you to begin to look at the things that you've been fearful of, that you're not free from. I said last week out of Galatians 5:1, it is for freedom that Christ has set you free. I want you to ask God to bring to mind words that you have said, first about yourself. Let's use that. Things that you've said about yourself. Maybe I'm dumb and I'm not that smart. I don't learn that way. Maybe things that you've beat yourself up about. And maybe because of what you went through, because of the issues, because of the trauma, you might even be cursing yourself. Yeah, generational stuff, generational issues, generational patterns will wind up having you speak words about you. Well, here, I want you to really come up with those words. And I want those words that you've used to curse or speak ill of yourself, I want you to have them ready, get them ready, and I want you to put them in places where I place a blank when I say blank. I want you to begin to ask God for healing. Now, here's the truth. A lot of times when we think about healing, we think that healing, we ask God for healing, that it's some magical thing that happens. But I tell you, it takes work. And the first thing that you're going to have to do in this moment is be willing to acknowledge it. Let's start there. Let's start with willingness. And I want you to affirm to have a willing spirit to speak truth today, that you'll say exactly what you need to say today. And then I want you to begin to surrender these pieces, those words that you've said about yourself. You know, the other song they used to sing in church was, I surrender all. I want you to surrender to this space. I want you to say, God, here it is. I want you to take it, and not just take it for this moment, but to take it all the time. Here, take how I'm feeling. Take how I feel. Actually, I want to be willing to give you all of this, and I will surrender all of me to it. Surrender. So I want you to have these words in your mind and in your heart, and begin to look at it in a way that allows you to best deal with it. You all might have individual ways of dealing with it. So the first thing I'll say today is this. Dear God, thank you that your thoughts are greater than my thoughts. So I speak words today, and I speak your word today. Work in all my deeds today. Today, let my life be a channel through which some portion of your love flows to reach not only me, but reach the lives of all who I come near to. So, Father, with that being said, God, I ask you to heal me and set me free from the influences of these curses that I've spoke over my life. And so, God, today I decide to move forward. And I no longer want to speak ill over myself. So, God, forgive me for the harmful words that I spoke over myself when I said blank. You fill in the blank. I'll say it again. God, forgive me for the harmful words I spoke over myself when I said blank. Wash my words and detach the power they have had in my life. Today, I replace the harsh words I've spoken over myself, and today I replace them with the truth of what you speak about me. The truth about me is I am your beloved. Lord, thank you for setting me free from the power of these words that I've spoken, and I receive your gift of freedom. Today, I know I just wanted to share just that quickly, but here, I'm going to end with these two prayers. You ready for this? Come on, you ready? You ready to listen to this? Today, also the prayer of fear and the prayer of anger. Because I'll be honest with you, I've been watching my sisters and my brothers, and I live in the hood. I still live on 3rd and Oakdale. What's up? Bayview, Hunters Point. And I could just see the fear and anger coming off people. You could almost see them you could see it in their eyes. Yeah, it's tough. And I don't blame people for doing donuts in the street or still being addicted to alcohol or being addicted to heroin or crack, because I realize that is but a shell that I see, and they are not their addiction. But because of what has happened in their lives, man. And some of it came from a generational thing. It got passed down. No, they might not have actually experienced the same trauma, but what they did experience was the effect of that trauma. And it shaped them and made them, and it made them feel or it react and respond and move and talk in a way that got them to this place. So right now, I don't want fear to no longer dominate. I don't want it to paralyze us or hinder us or break us or have us react in the wrong way. So today, God, I ask if there's any fear holding us back from living out who we are made to be. Come on now. I usually play music around this time. But if there's anything that's been holding us back, God, I ask that you would be present. So God, this fear of blank hinders me from living life in a free way. I want this to stop today, for it has affected me and even those around me. Will you forgive me for letting fear consume me and not letting you care for the things that I am afraid of? Father, I know you know. So today I receive the opposite of fear, and I receive your love, which casts out all fear. I choose to live in the power of the freedom of your love, to be courageous and to live in my original design and destiny you have for me. I also today, God, I pray about my anger and the effects and how it has affected me and how it has affected those around me and how it has hindered me for living in freedom, in peace, and in joy. Father, forgive me for allowing anger to consume me and how has it affected my relationships. I receive the opposite of anger, which is your peace, kindness, and gentleness. I choose today to live in the power of your freedom. And with that being said, I say amen and then thank God. Today, guys, I know it's time for us to really step into a different space, a different place. And I just wanted to, number one, just encourage you with those words. Today is your day. I want to remind you that you are on the battlefield for your Lord. And the battlefield sometimes is the battlefield of your mind. The enemy is not just trying to fight you and consume you, and not just trying to take your body, but if he could take your mind, he could take everything. So today I just say again, fight for it. God wants to break some of the generational stuff in your life because it's been a battlefield. It's been a place where folks have actually battled for its superiority in your life. God's love has found you, and now it wants to do more than just find you. It wants to create you. It wants to make you brand new. Fall in love with him because he's always been in love with you. Listen, I appreciate you tonight. Here it is, 6:34. We've already been on for 30 minutes. I hope you heard what you needed to hear. I hope it inspired you. I hope it encouraged you. And I hope it pushes you forward. It's pushing me forward. I look forward to talking to you next Tuesday. God bless you. Have a great day. Have a great evening. Whenever you watch this, just throw something in the comments. And I want to tell you, it's been a blessing doing this every Tuesday. So I look forward to seeing you again. Tell somebody about it. If you go on YouTube, please subscribe. Please ring the bell. Do the thumbs up. Like it. And we'll continue to doing this kind of content every week. We appreciate you. God bless you. Have a good one. Have a good night. Have a good evening. I know this is a blessing because God has blessed me to bless you. Have a good one. Appreciate you. Good night.